Hey College and Career Success, this is your week 2 assignment video that specifically focuses on chapter 3 assignments. So in the week 2 folder, if you look down here, I know it's not open yet, but in the week 2 video folder, when you click in, there's a chapter 2 lecture video and chapter 3 lecture video that go over the chapters. And then this is your chapter 2 assignment video. And then underneath that will be the chapter 3 assignment video, so that just one video just isn't too long. I'm breaking it up a little bit. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into week 2. So as I talked about in the other video, this is like the real quick snapshot. My week 2 chapter 2 assignment video already covers all of these here, everything from chapter 2. I do want to just remind you that there are 2 discussion forums this week, chapter 2 discussion and chapter 3 discussion. You need to post in both of those by Wednesday for your weekly attendance. So please don't forget to do that, even though this video is only focusing on chapter 3. All right, so as I always mentioned as well, previous to this, in the materials folder, this is where you're going to find your links to your slides, to the text. You can go back out and look at the videos. So anything that's going to kind of help you understand the content that is the basis for these chapters. So let's go ahead and hop into our assignments. So again, my previous video already covered all of this in chapter 2. I am just focusing on chapter 3 right now. All right, so chapter 3, here is your discussion prompt. You have to also post your original response for attendance purposes in this and chapter 2 discussion by Wednesday for your week 2 attendance. Respond to 2 classmates in each forum by Sunday, so 4 responses total. All right, so this is talking about kind of just having backup plans. It says, can you identify any areas in your life that might be a potential problem if there is a setback? Let's say your car breaks down. Let's say you lose your job, or your job lays off people, or whatever that might be. There's an illness that lasts a long time, a child issue, anything like that. Do you have backups for that? Technology. You have technology issues, your laptop breaks. I mean, there's been lots of things I've had students go through over the years. So maybe pick 1 or 2 areas that you're like, hey, if I lost my access to technology, here's what I would do. If I lost my transportation for a week or 2, here's what I would do. So I want you to think about those backup plans that could potentially happen to you. Now, if you're only an online student, you might not talk about transportation. You might talk about access to technology. How are you going to still do your online classes if something happens to the device you're using? You can talk about childcare. You can talk about your workplace, anything like that. So coming up with a backup, like a setback backup plan. So remember, 150 words or more for your original post. All right, for your chapter 3 assignment, it's called What is Your Perfect Week? It's going to open up into this. And you're basically going to fill this out, and it says perfect week, not ideal week. Let me explain how they're different. Ideal would be sitting on a beach or at the lake house or taking a week-long nap, anything like that. You know, things that would really just be like really relaxing or fun. Vacation, that's an ideal week. This is not asking for that. This is asking for your perfect week. If you could structure your week in real life to make it balanced for you, what would that look like? You know, what time would you wake up? What time would you go to sleep? What kind of time would you spend at your workplace? What kind of time would you spend with your friends, in class, on classwork? So I want you to think about all of that, and you can put all of this in, like type it in, you know, whatever the case is. Oh, oops. Now, if you want to write the word sleep multiple times and you're tired of writing it, you can just, to show that you're replacing it over and over. Now, at the bottom, there are questions, and the version I have and the version most of you have, when you open up, you won't be able to type right on it. So when you're done with this part up here, make sure you file it, save it with your changes, file, save, and then you're going to upload it. These questions down here, right here, you can answer when you go in here. You'll upload your file, and then those 4 questions under Create Submission, here's where you can answer those questions, where it says, you know, how much time did you include study, sleep, socializing, self-care? This is where you can answer them. So upload the document with all of this filled out, and then in the Create Submission area, write the answer to those questions. So you're kind of submitting things twice, the same assignment, just how you go about submitting it. Again, I want to just emphasize, because chapter 3 does talk about like managing our time and making sure that we are putting the right amount of time and energy into things along with taking care of ourselves. This is what this exercise is about, is trying to envision how you would set up your perfect week. How could you find balance? And some of it might be maybe not as realistic as you would hope. You know, you might put on here your perfect week. You would only work 20 hours, but in the real world, financially, you have to work 40. But again, you're kind of just, if you could structure your week in a way that would be really balancing for you, what would that look like? All right, and then the other assignment that you are submitting for chapter 3 is the chapter 3 quiz. So you're going to click on that. It's going to open up into a Word doc, and here are the questions. So this one asks you to think about your high school assignments. Do you think that high school assignments require worksheets based on readings or classroom activities? Do you agree with that? How would you describe most of your college assignments so far? I know for some of you, this might only be like your second week of college. Were your college assignments harder or just different than high school? Do you have to change the way that you prepared from high school going into college? Are you still using the same strategies? If not, have you changed, or have you found new things to work for you? So I know this is like a loaded question. So you're going to try to address those. Remember, you're trying to use 2 to 5 sentences for each response. Question 2 in the chapter talks about tracking our time. Have you ever tracked your time before this chapter? What did you learn about that? Could you take that activity under your wings and track your time? In general, do you over or underestimate the time that it takes you to do things? And then what kind of tips would you give, and it says specifically 5 tips, to a new college student on time management? Okay, question 3, this goes back to this matrix. It talked about urgent and important and priorities, setting priorities. You know, if you had to have 2 assignments, they're both pretty urgent, they're both pretty important. You had to talk to your instructor. Would you feel comfortable meeting with your instructor to talk about them? What kind of pops in your head when you think about that? How would you start that conversation? If you're not comfortable, how could you increase your comfort level meeting with a professor, talking about assignments and time management? Question 4 is another time management assignment, or excuse me, question. You can kind of see the theme here, obviously, in chapter 3. How much time do you spend kind of just sitting around in doctor's offices, in the car lines, in any kind of travel situation, anything like that? Do you find yourself waiting around a lot? Could you use your time in a more effective way when you find you have a lot of downtime? Or maybe you don't, and you can talk about that. And then question 5, specifically relating to time management as it relates to your career. So in here, give me a basis. You know, I am going to become a nurse. I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to be IT, business, whatever it is. And how will time management be important in that role? Okay. When you're done, make sure you save that and upload it in your Dropbox here. When you are done with everything, all of chapter 2 and all of chapter 3, I will course message you and just make sure that you know that you're on the right track, that you are completely done. I also send out reminders on Thursdays. You'll get like a little automated message from Blackboard saying, hey, don't forget. That doesn't mean panic. It just means this assignment is coming due. All right, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Have a great week.